Hey guys, Xlice here. Men and joiners, it's time. Brace yourselves for S0 to S6 Luuk Herssen. Full guide on main channel as usual. This video will be done on media server, in TOA, like usual, with the same stats as in the guide. Since he has no extra crit rate at all from either sequence nodes or his current best in slot team, we're running 4 cost crit rate so that he's not crit fishing too hard. He'll have a 2.5k attack, 137 ER, 92.6 crit rate in combat with 5p set and 220 crit damage. We're mainly going to do a 1 rotation showcase here. If you want to see full clears, check out the full guide. Now, I do want to preface that media server TOA features the Sentry construct now, and this rotation is heavily Luuk favored. You can see the buffs are pretty nice for him. 10% reduced spectral res on enemies, extra basic attack damage bonus, and also extra spectral damage bonus on Toon Strain. And Luuk basically only has one best in slot team right now, this one, with Mornye. So this showcase is going to be linear and straightforward. I am going to add one Shorekeeper showcase just for S0, so you can at least see the team DPS difference on this new boss before we ascend. But for S1 to S6, it's only going to be with Mornye. So first up, S0, premium team Mornye, and then swapping Mornye with Shorekeeper. We'll go ahead and speed up the setup portion and show Luke's damage against the boss.
Pain relief initiated. Imbalance ends here.
For Mornye, we're already seeing quite a nice amount of damage from the TOA buffs. All of his damage is backloaded near his ult, and we see a sequence of 200k, 90 plus 180k, and a 400k ult. Kind of hard to see his ult damage because he also has 5 extra mini hits, but yeah, it's there. One rotation looks to remove about 60% boss HP. Then with the SK team first, let's fast forward. His backloaded damage looks like 167k into 72 plus 144k.
I deliver.
Into, I think, about 333k or something like that. The text is kind of blocked, unfortunately. The damage is definitely lower than with Mornye, but still decently strong for S0. One rotation looks to remove about 52-ish% boss HP. Now for S1. So this provides 150% mid-air damage bonus, which looks like a lot, but unfortunately it's not nearly as impactful as we'd like. It only affects certain mid-air attacks, and he already has about 150 to 200% damage bonus built into his kit, plus team setup, so the diminishing returns are quite hefty. Let's just speed up the rotation here so you can see. While we do see increases in damage, their effective increase is about 10 to 20% over S0.
Game over.
So we see a 233k, a 101 plus 202k,
My scalpel etches your epitaph.
and a 446k ult. Still, the damage increase is kind of accurate for an S1, like 10 to 20%, but the 150% mid-air damage bonus kind of just throws me off because that value is still pretty high, but it's not kind of reflected in his damage. It's okay. Boss HP looks like it's about 65%. No worries, he does still pack a much bigger punch with more sequence nodes. S2. So now we're starting to get into impactful stuff. 2 things here. First, his burst gains 1.6 final damage, and second, his top forte damage amp doubles in value. Max cap is now 60%, but currently with Linne we can only achieve 50%. Still a good improvement. Onto the showcase. So speeding up his specific rotation,
Immediate procedure.
all of his damage is starting to ramp up due to the extra amp.
Game over.
His final damage sequence looks pretty solid, clocking in at 264k, 155 plus 229k,
My scalpel etches your
into a massive 681k ult. Boss HP checks out at just under 75%. Now for S3. So this one is just raw damage, and is definitely his most impactful early sequence node for them big gains. 2.36 final damage to all enhanced skills and enhanced basics, and 4 stacks of daytime for AoE situations. In combat, let's take a look. So now we can see each of his enhanced skill and basic combos contributing a good chunk of chip damage. It's not huge damage screenshot numbers, but they do definitely add up. Then for his final damage sequence, he's smacking 436k into 189 plus 378k
I deliver.
into the same delicious 681k. Obviously, his ult value doesn't change since that was S2. S3 bumped up all the other major values to smack pretty damn hard. Now, the interesting thing is that the damage is not exactly 2.36 final damage. It's more like 1.7, but it is what it is. Usually their text description on sequence node matches final damage increases, but sometimes there's a bit of nuance that doesn't quite connect when comparing numbers to actual damage. No worries though, this is why we need a test. Boss HP looks to be almost 90%, which is pretty solid. Not as crazy as Amy, but still well within main DPS range. Okay, so now for quick S4 and S5 combined. These are just giving some pretty minor bonuses. 20% more damage from S4, and then intro, outro, base skill buffs on S5. S5 are, in my opinion, what I would call filler buffs. They look complete on paper because they buffed his enhanced skill. They buffed his skill at basic, and they also buffed his ultimate. So they're buffing his intro, outro, and base skill just because, yeah. In combat, though, these abilities basically do no damage to begin with, so these bonuses aren't going to be that meaningful. Let's do a quick fast forward here to the damage we care about. All right, so we hit our Toon Strain, and then we hit 456k into 198 plus 396
I bestow eternal
into 710k. So yeah, pretty much as expected. Slight damage gain, and the boss HP is basically around the same 90% as S3, maybe slightly more. Finally, a time for S6. So this basically adds even more damage to all of his damage sources. Now, I personally wasn't sure at the beginning, but I've already tested it, and these 30% more damage to the target text descriptions are all separate final damage multipliers, which I really like. So we're basically doing 1.3 more damage on all of his enhanced skills and basics, which are already dealing those 450k numbers and 200k plus. So he's getting major boosts again. His ult is a bit different. It gets 120% damage bonus instead. And finally, Toon Strain is elevated by 2 levels on the target as well, meaning the extra damage against those targets also increases by another 12%-ish. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, I'm talking about this stuff right here. His Toon Break boost with Linnea is going to be about 50. So this is about 6% per level. 2 levels should give about 12%. That's my estimation. But yeah, overall, he is hitting like a truck now. So let's do our final showcase in TOA. We are guaranteed to kill the boss, but it does actually survive so that we can see all those big juicy numbers. So while you're going to see on the showcase chart that it's going to be dead, make reference to the actual like damage tier increase, because it should be pretty big. All right, let's roll the clip.
Command mode engaged. Order execute stars. Hear my queries. Structural override initiated. Tie a bow and call that my signature. Check this out. I call this shit
immediate procedure. Ash takes form. Yeah. Game over. Entombed in daybreak, I bestow eternal peace.
And there it is. On the replay, we see 661k into 286 plus 572k into a 983k ult. Pretty impressive, Dr. Luke. All right, so that's your boy. Overall, his sequence nodes are acceptably pretty good. I'm gonna be honest though. S1 does feel odd the way it's described. It sounds strong, even with diminishing returns, because like, for example, if he already had 150% damage bonus and he gains 150%, we'd be going from 150 to 300, which is still like double the value gain. It's not 1.5x, but it's still plus 100%, which is kind of good. But we don't see that. We just see a 10% DPS increase, which is totally fine, by the way. S1 is not supposed to be some crazy jump. I expect about 10 to 15% for most of these, and then I expect S2 and S3 to be like where he massively jumps up. So that's fine. Just kind of like, I don't really know sometimes the way this description is and if it even matches. It's fine. Like low-key, what if this was 50%? Maybe it'd make more sense. Or even if this was like 15%, I don't know. 150% is a lot. It's just, yeah. S2 and S3 are good. They pack a really nice punch. S3 is where you really care about it. And then S6 packs even more damage, and these basically are our final damage numbers, so it's quite nice. If you care about investment threshold, S3 is definitely the marker. I would say S1 is weak, S2 is good, and S3 is great. It does kind of remind me of Amy's damage gain, just not as much, but still very good. So yeah, for my male enjoyers out there, I think S6 is promising enough for a damage ceiling. Not as crazy as Amy's multi-million nukes, but he's definitely the strongest male DPS that we have in the game by far. Anyways, for me, he turned out pretty satisfying. Let me know. For you male enjoyers out there, do you feel satisfied with this performance? What do you think? This video, disclaimer, it's not financial advice. I just like doing these showcases, so spend responsibly. Don't forget to like, subscribe. This is going to be a collaboration between my second channel and myself just for exposure. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.